Book 101 review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He's a mental health nurse practitioner and, of course, relationship expert. No other than Mr. John Dioka.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm fabulous, fabulous, Mr. John. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Yes, so again, I'm Dr. John Deoka. I'm a mental health nurse practitioner, and I specialize in treating patients that are suffering from relationship issues. So that could be patients that are, navigating the troubles of modern day dating, long-term couples that are having troubles in their relationship. I also see families that could be having any kind of interfamily conflict, or even sometimes friendships and workplace relationships as well.
Dr. John the Oga, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. What was the single most profound shift in your understanding of love, connection, or relationships after reading Quantum Love?
Yeah, so it's funny because I discovered this book probably sometime last year, and it's almost 10 years old. So I haven't heard about it before. The therapist that wrote it was on a podcast, and it really started getting into line with some of the work I'm seeing with my clients and some of the work that we're doing together, where we're talking about these energetic changes that occur between two people and how we have the ability to shift the dynamics in relationships when we're focusing on our own energy. I know there's a lot of chatter out there as these communities surrounding, quantum shifts and manifesting are arising. So there's a lot of, discussion around, what's pushed out, how do people respond to me? And I do think there is some correlation to what we're seeing in relationships and how we show up and how our expectations are and what our beliefs look like as well. And that's what this book really talks about is how we kind of go into our own energy and use it to shift our relationship, especially if that relationship is having any issues.
Is it Laura Berman, the author for the Quantum Love?
Yep, Laura Berman.
Yes. Awesome. Awesome. Congratulations, Miss Laura, for sharing your quantum love to the world. How has the book changed how you perceive and manage your own emotion or emotional and energetic state in your close relationships?
Yeah, I think, even with myself, I come from a family where we lost our parents so young, and sometimes there's a lot of conflict between myself and my siblings. So even kind of like going inwards and doing, energy work on myself or having energy practitioners work with me to kind of release kind of old wounds or unstuck energy kind of helps shift things and move things along, especially when there's conflict. So as much as we're doing, emotional check-ins, which is something I would work with my clients regularly, it kind of goes hand in hand with our energy because, emotions typically, our understanding of them on a quantum level, our emotions are energy in motion. So kind of understanding what our emotions look like on an energetic level. So that's really kind of what this book has kind of transpired me taking into my own life and actually putting into my clients as well.
Interesting indeed, Dr. John. And how has the concept of quantum loving yourself first impacted your self-talk, boundaries, or sense of worth?
Yes, I think, this is going back before I was even in working in this relationship space. And this is kind of like a retrospective discovery of probably when I was going in my 20s and navigating difficult relationships and selecting partners that weren't the best for me. but you could kind of go back and see where your energy was in terms of like what beliefs was I carrying, what old programming was running from my childhood in terms of like maybe wounds that were running about where my self-worth was and so forth. And I kind of slowly began to piece how I shifted out of that over, several years. So taking that and kind of moving it forward even more as we're always working on ourselves and always working on our relationships, because when we come out, obviously as infants, we're always taking in things. Our subconscious is always absorbing things, it's always listening. So it's our jobs and also our privilege and our gift to take what resonates with us and kind of leave the rest and kind of move forward and kind of get rid of all that old programming that we don't want to hold on to anymore and that's not serving us and could be possibly leading us away from the life that we want to live and the relationships we want to have.
Dr. John, if applicable, how have ideas about quantum lovemaking influenced your intimate relationships?
Yes. So really kind of taking ownership of yourself and what you're bringing to that relationship. So with, me and my own relationships, there's always some kind of exchange that you have going on with that person or that partner. And there's always some kind of place of your behavior, your energy, your intentions, and what's causing that dynamic to shift, whether it's in a good way or a bad way. So using this book, well, obviously we want to use that energy to shift things in a good way. So maybe we might be seeing things, and this is more rhetorical, but maybe we might be projecting old wounds or old history with other people and patterns of distrust on our prospective partners, kind of being introspective in that moment. And I've done this myself where it's like, is this something present for me or is this something that's old that's just kind of running unconsciously that I'm using the opportunity to create awareness now, and then I'm going to use this energy to kind of release it finally.
Finally, release it, people, release it. And Dr. John, has quantum love changed how you view past relationships or patterns?
Absolutely. Because once you kind of get on this belief system on how our own energy is impacting our relationships, even the bad, and kind of shift out of this, I don't want to say necessarily victim mentality, but like more so like that everything's being done to us by other people. You could really see how different things were happening at different moments towards your life that you may have been getting into heated exchanges with an ex, self sabotaging relationships, you know, thinking that the shoe was going to drop before it really has and there was nothing necessarily wrong, and maybe you were emotionally dysregulated and that um your safety alarm system was up and it didn't need to be because of all your past trauma with any kind of relationships or with any exes that you were having before. So once you kind of buy into like, you really, you could use this and be empowered and moving forward in your relationships, you could see how it affected the past and kind of work backwards into going forwards into what you want.
Dr. John, which concepts from quantum love seem to resonate most powerfully or create the biggest aha moments for your clients?
I think the biggest aha moment, but it's also the biggest shift, is the ownership of what you're able to do and how much power you have to shift your relationships. So when you start seeing your partner in a different way, so maybe you're looking at them as a lazy person, and then you start to kind of shift out of that and see, because everything that we're looking at is, just one lens and what we're choosing to focus on. But if we choose to shift our focus onto, maybe how goal oriented versus lazy they are in different areas, you could see how that relationship might shift. This is a lot of work because we're really doing a big paradigm shift in this. But once you get there, it's a big, big aha moment. And it's also like this huge sigh of relief and a big weight off your shoulders when you could kind of see how much freedom there is and how much ease there is to move about your relationships once you kind of figure out the process, and then you can navigate it a little more easy. That doesn't mean there's no more conflict or there's no more hardships in relationships, but you know your process of going inward and handling it versus kind of shooting everything out and having everything go, and blame towards the other person, or fixate or worry about, or direct all your energy towards them versus inside.
Indeed, aha moment. Has the book inspired you to incorporate more experiential or somatic techniques alongside tradition talk therapy?
Yeah, I think there's a big, big shift with therapists incorporating somatic techniques, but also with patients seeking them, because we're starting to become more aware of how emotions affect our physical body now. Especially, I would say, in the last 5 years since COVID, it really raised patients' mental health awareness. So, doing, this energetic slash spiritual work, it almost is parallel to psychology and psychiatry. And it's giving patients that holistic approach to kind of move forward and reach their goals, in this case in their relationship space of the mental health world.
Mental health world, indeed. What challenges have you encountered when trying to introduce quantum physics based concept to clients?
I think the biggest challenge is those that are not on board with this, because it could be very woo woo, and it's not something I'm introducing to everyone. But I think more and more people are gravitating towards this kind of stuff. So I think it's a little on the new age side. So those that are, operating from the fixed mindset, or very, very rooted in old school ways, they're going to be a little more challenged with this, or might have more resistance. But in order for us to be, a lot better or a lot more successful in our relationships anyway, there is an encouragement for us to constantly be seeking expansion within ourselves and our growth and our development, so that we understand ourselves better and we understand others better anyway. So ultimately, incorporating this work into daily practice or into your relationship practices would be beneficial at some point, if you could get there along your journey.
Dr. John, can you identify any observable changes in client outcomes in terms of communication, deeper connection, or faster conflict resolution that you attributed, at least in part, to integrating quantum love principles?
Yeah, I think, kind of going on that example that I shared, where we're shifting what we're focusing on with our partner. So let's say our partner's getting on our nerves, or maybe being a little annoying to us. If we start to fixate on how loving they are, or how the relationship has benefited us, and really go into gratitude and appreciation towards this connection, this book calls out all these different emotions on the spectrum, and like what raises your energetic frequency to a higher level. Gratitude, of which I believe is one of the highest like vibrational frequencies there is to kind of make some of these changes. You'll see how that kind of impacts the relationship, and where you may have been very, aggravated, annoyed, or easy to kind of stir initially, then you start looking at this relationship with more tenderness, more care, and more appreciation, if that's what your ultimate outcome is, of course, too.
Was there a concept or tool in the book that you initially thought was primarily for personal use but found so surprisingly applicable in your professional work?
I think the whole book was for my personal use too, because this was just for my understanding. I will say, as I have been growing in my own career and expanding and have started writing and speaking on podcasts and things like that, it's only as my career has been expanding and into start incorporating concepts like this and seeing patterns that are arising, like noticing how energy impacts relationship and how emotions are so hand in hand with energetic frequencies, that while I read this for my own interests, now it's like, how can I evolve as a provider and really kind of use it with my clients that are willing to come on this energetic journey of bettering and improving their own relationship dynamics.
Very well said, Dr. John. Beautifully articulated. And as a mental health nurse practitioner and relationship expert, what are your short term and long term goals?
Well, right, my short-term goal actually is I'm been writing a lot. So I just actually released a blog. It's called Life with Dr. D about a couple of months ago. So I'm super excited about that, where I have a weekly blog entry in the lifestyle space. So more and more in writing on the short term side, and definitely more speaking, working with my clients, expanding my business, and, you know, potentially just trying to impact greater and bigger audiences on the long term side, helping people get better in their relationships and connect better with themselves and with others.
Good luck to your goals, Dr. John, and looking forward for more success. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there want to be a relationship expert like you?
Take in all you can. So soak up all the knowledge that you can, look into sources that you would never even think possible. And the good thing is, everyone's practicing relationship skills because we're all dealing with relationships. So the more successful or the more growth that you feel like you have in this area, if you feel like this is your expertise, then pursue it, because that's kind of how it happened for me. Initially I was practicing in plastic surgery. Um, and then I shifted into becoming a mental health provider based on working with patients that were suffering from disturbed body image. And we were talking so much about relationship issues that I kind of transitioned, slowly into the space and winded up being where I really felt I should be. So you don't know where you might be now, but if this is calling to you, please pursue it and seek all the knowledge you can.
Dr. John, thank you so much for your advice. And are there any aspect of the quantum love framework you find challenging to fully embrace or implement?
I don't think so. I think this author really has kind of articulated this book in such a well-rounded way. I think the biggest challenge might be the frequency in which you practice it and kind of getting adjusted to, doing your check-ins, however often that might look like, and kind of getting started would probably be the biggest challenge, because sometimes, developing new habits might be the biggest hurdle for us.
Dr. John, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and of course, my Book 101 review in fifth season too, Comedy 101 in second season, and of course, my Food 101 in its fifth season as well. Geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast, Law 101 and Mental Health 101. Love Letters in third season, and my Movie 101 review and Music 101 in its fourth season, Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. Dr. John, if you could distill the one essential message or tool from quantum love that you believe has the most transformative power for individuals or couples, what would it be and why?
You have more power than you think you do to impact your relationship. And it all starts with your emotions and your energy. So once you're able to kind of reflect and understand those, you'll see how much influence that you really have on these dynamics that are showing up in your life.
Dr. John Dioka, thank you so much again for your wisdom and knowledge you shared to us. And can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy as well as your business itself?
Yes. I can say it right.
Yes, guys.
Okay. So please follow me at Dr. _ John Dioka at Instagram, therelationshipprescriber.com, and lifewithdrd.com. DRD. Thank you guys so much.
Yes, people, let's support Dr. John Dioka, because if you support him, more and more and more empowering relationship to come, more and more empowering advocacy to come. Dr. John, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
More to come, people. See you soon.